Have you ever felt like people treat you differently as you get older? One day, you realize your children and grandchildren don't call as often as they used to. Old friends seem to meet up less frequently. And even when you're in a conversation, you still feel invisible, as if you've been forgotten. This isn't just your imagination. And surprisingly, it's not always because others have changed. It might be because of you as well. There are certain habits that many older adults unknowingly develop that can create distance between them and their loved ones. Small things that over time have a big impact on how family, friends, and society perceive you. But here's the good news. Once you recognize these habits, you can change them. Today, I'll share 6 common habits that can push people away and how to maintain strong, meaningful relationships as you age. You can stay connected, appreciated, and loved. If you know how, stay with me until the end of this video, because number 4 is something many people do without even realizing it. Before we begin, if you're committed to living a healthier, more fulfilling life, hit the like button to help spread this valuable knowledge. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And if you're enjoying this content, comment 1 below to let me know you're here. If not, comment 0, and I'll work harder to bring you even better content. Let's dive in now. Point 1. Becoming too negative about everything. By the time we reach our 70s, we all have worries, regrets, and frustrations. But if every conversation revolves around sadness, complaints about society, health issues, or unhappy memories from the past, the people around you may start feeling emotionally drained when talking to you. Take Ruth, 75 years old, for example. She was once a beloved figure in her family, but after retiring, she slowly changed. Whenever her children and grandchildren visited, instead of sharing joyful stories, she always started with complaints. Her declining health, the rising cost of living, the negativity in the news, and how she felt her children didn't care for her enough. At first, they listened and reassured her. But over time, the phone calls became shorter, and the visits grew less frequent. Eventually, her family avoided coming over because they knew they would leave feeling weighed down. When Ruth finally realized this, she felt lonely and confused about what had gone wrong. Being negative isn't inherently bad. We all go through difficult times. But when negativity becomes the main theme of every conversation, it creates distance between you and others. No one enjoys spending time with someone who constantly complains, blames others, and focuses only on the negative side of life. On the other hand, those who acknowledge their struggles while still maintaining optimism and finding joy in small things are the ones who are truly cherished. Instead of starting a conversation with frustration or complaints, try to find something positive to talk about. If your health isn't what it used to be, rather than repeatedly discussing your pain, share a new therapy you're trying or a simple exercise that has helped you feel better. If you're disappointed with society, look for an inspiring story, an act of kindness you saw in the news. Not only will this make people feel more comfortable talking to you, but it will also help you see life from a more positive perspective. Negativity can creep into your life without you realizing it, but it can be changed. If you want your children, grandchildren, and friends to love being around you, be someone who brings joy into their lives. Each day, challenge yourself to start a conversation with something positive. A happy memory, a small moment that made you smile, or a good piece of news. You'll be surprised at how this small shift can make a huge difference in your relationships. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 1 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. Thank you for your precious time, and remember, every step you take today brings you closer to a happier, more fulfilling life. Point 2. Handing out unwanted advices. We all have valuable life experiences after years of ups and downs. Lessons we believe could help others avoid making mistakes. But often, without realizing it, constantly offering advice, especially when it wasn't asked for, can make people feel uncomfortable or even push them away. This doesn't mean your advice isn't valuable, but the way it's delivered can sometimes feel imposing or judgmental, making the listener feel as if they aren't capable of making their own decisions. I remember one family dinner when I saw my granddaughter excitedly trying a new recipe. As I watched her slice onions too thick and marinate the meat out of order, I couldn't help myself and immediately stepped in. "You need to do it this way," I said, taking the knife and showing her the proper way to slice. She hesitated for a moment, then reluctantly followed my instructions, but I could see the enthusiasm fade from her face. Later, she continued cooking, but no longer asked for my input. She simply did things her way in silence. I thought I was helping her make a better dish, but in reality, I had unknowingly taken away her joy in the process. Another time, my son announced that he wanted to buy a small house in the suburbs instead of staying in the city. I immediately told him it was a mistake and began listing all the challenges: longer commutes, limited medical facilities, fewer conveniences. I thought I was helping him avoid a poor decision, but soon after, I noticed he stopped discussing his personal plans with me. He still bought the house, but the next time he made an important decision, he only told me after everything was finalized, no longer seeking my opinion or involving me in the process. Situations like these happen often in the lives of older adults. Sometimes, we don't realize that what we think of as helping actually becomes a source of pressure for others. Everyone has the right to make their own choices, even if that means making mistakes. Over-involvement doesn't always prevent failure. It can simply push people further away, making them less willing to share their thoughts with us. The best way to offer support without creating distance is to learn to listen and only give advice when it is requested. If someone shares a concern, instead of immediately telling them what they should do, try asking, "Would you like my advice?" Or, "I'm happy to share my thoughts if you're interested." This approach not only ensures that your input is welcomed, but also makes the other person feel more comfortable opening up. When we accept that not everyone needs our advice, conversations become lighter, relationships grow stronger, and instead of pushing loved ones away, we create an environment where they genuinely want to share their lives with us. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 1 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. Point 3. The hesitation to changes. Life never stops changing, whether we want it to or not. Everything around us is constantly evolving. Technology, lifestyles, communication, and even social values. But as we reach our 70s, many people tend to cling to what's familiar and resist change. This isn't out of stubbornness, but simply because it feels safer to hold on to the habits that have been with us for a lifetime. However, refusing to adapt to the modern world can create a growing distance between us and the people around us. When grandchildren prefer texting over phone calls, or when family conversations increasingly happen through video calls instead of face-to-face meetings, many older adults feel left behind. Instead of trying to learn and embrace these new ways of connecting, they often respond with frustration. "Back in my day, we didn't need phones, and we got along just fine." Or, "Why can't young people just sit down and talk like we used to?" While these statements may be true, they don't bring you closer to your family. In fact, rejecting change can actually widen the gap between generations. Resistance to change isn't just about technology, it's also about perspectives. Many older adults struggle to accept the different ways younger generations think and live. They hold on to old beliefs, convinced that their experiences were the right way, and when they see their children or grandchildren doing things differently, they're quick to judge it as a mistake. But the reality is, each generation faces its own unique challenges and opportunities. If we don't open our minds to understanding these differences, we risk isolating ourselves, as younger people gradually stop sharing their thoughts and lives with us. Embracing change doesn't mean abandoning the past or the values we cherish. It means learning to select what's relevant and useful so we don't fall behind, and so we can maintain meaningful relationships with those around us. When someone is willing to explore new things, even something as simple as a smartphone app or a modern perspective on life, they not only feel less lonely, but also remain an active part of the world rather than standing on the sidelines. The key is flexibility and openness. Instead of reacting negatively to new things, try approaching them with curiosity. When your grandchildren mention something unfamiliar, don't dismiss it. Ask, "Oh, that sounds interesting. Tell me more about it." A small shift in attitude can make conversations more enjoyable, strengthen your connections, and ensure you remain included in the precious moments of your family and friends. Adapting to change doesn't mean losing yourself or chasing after every new trend. It simply means keeping your mind flexible and open to new experiences. Life keeps moving forward, and when we're willing to move with it, we not only maintain our connections with those around us, but also cultivate a youthful spirit and a life filled with new colors and possibilities. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 2 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. Point 4. Expecting too much from others without giving anything in return. One of the biggest reasons older adults feel lonely and abandoned is the belief that their loved ones no longer care as much as they once did. They long for their children and grandchildren to call more often, visit regularly, and check in on their health. They feel sad when no one remembers their birthday, and disappointed when their busy family doesn't make time to see them. But sometimes they forget to ask themselves, what have I done to maintain these connections? People naturally grow distant when they feel that a relationship is one-sided, when expectations are high, but there's no effort to reciprocate. If someone expects love and attention but doesn't actively reach out, they unknowingly create a gap. A simple phone call, a short message to check in, or a kind gesture can go a long way in maintaining relationships. But if you only sit and wait for someone else to make the first move, that distance will only grow wider. Take the example of Anna, a woman who lived alone after her husband passed away. She often complained that her son didn't visit enough and that her grandson only called on holidays. Whenever they did meet, she would say, "Back in my day, I never neglected my parents like this. I always took care of them." Her son would fall silent, unsure how to respond. What Anna didn't realize was that her son was juggling a demanding job, his own family, and responsibilities he couldn't ignore. And though her words came from love, they made him feel guilty rather than encouraged him to visit more often. Now, imagine a different approach. Instead of complaining, what if Anna called her son and said, "Are you free this week? Come over for dinner. I'll make your favorite dish." Or if she sent her grandson a simple message, "I miss you. How have you been lately?" Instead of making them feel burdened, these small gestures would make them feel loved and appreciated without pressure. Relationships are built on mutual effort. Giving doesn't always mean material things or grand gestures. Sometimes, a kind word, a smile, or a positive conversation is enough to strengthen a connection. If someone only waits to receive love but doesn't actively foster it, they may slowly fade into the background. But if they take the initiative, show genuine care, and remove the pressure, love will naturally flow back to them. No one wants to feel forgotten, but sometimes our own unspoken expectations push others away. If you feel like your family isn't visiting as much as you'd like, try inviting them instead. Create an atmosphere of warmth and joy rather than guilt and blame. Remember, strong relationships don't happen by chance. They are the result of small, yet meaningful efforts every day. And when you learn to give first, you'll be surprised at how naturally love and attention come back to you. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 3 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. Point 5. Stop living in the past. The past is an important part of who we are. It holds beautiful memories, unforgettable stories, and valuable life lessons that we want to cherish forever. But there's something many people don't realize. When we talk about the past too much, we unintentionally build an invisible wall between ourselves and those around us. If every conversation revolves around the same old stories, younger people may find it hard to connect, while those of the same generation might have heard them so many times that they lose interest. Here's something to think about. Everyone enjoys being listened to, but not everyone wants to hear the same things over and over again. If every conversation is about the good old days and how things were better back then, we may unintentionally make others feel bored or disconnected. The past is valuable and deserves to be remembered, but life is still moving forward. Clinging too tightly to memories can make us feel stuck, isolated, and left behind. A great example is Muhammad Ali, the legendary boxer. After retiring, he didn't spend his days simply reminiscing about his past victories. Instead, he engaged in charity work, inspired younger generations, and focused on making a difference in the present. He didn't just talk about his legendary fights. He shared the lessons he had learned and applied them to his current life. Because of this, he remained admired not just for his past achievements, but for the person he continued to be. On the other hand, many once famous figures faded into obscurity because they refused to move beyond their glory days. They couldn't accept the present and failed to create new value in their lives. When someone constantly talks about their past successes without adapting to the present, people around them start to drift away, feeling disconnected from their stories. This is one of the reasons why many older adults experience loneliness. It's not that others don't care, but rather that they struggle to find common ground in the conversation. The best way to maintain meaningful relationships isn't to erase the past, but to balance it with the present. Instead of just retelling old stories, find ways to connect them to today's world. If you want to share a cherished memory, ask questions like, "Do you have a similar experience nowadays? How are things different today?" This not only makes conversations more engaging, but also strengthens your bond with younger generations. Life is still unfolding, and every day is an opportunity to create new stories. By embracing the present, exploring new interests, and listening to others just as much as we share, we keep our connections alive. When we appreciate the moments we have now, we don't just stay connected to those around us, we also make our own lives richer and more fulfilling. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 4 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. Point 6. Disrespecting personal boundaries. Personal boundaries are a crucial part of every relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or neighbors. However, many older adults don't realize that when they intervene too deeply in others' lives, even with good intentions, they can unintentionally make people feel controlled, uncomfortable, and gradually create distance. It's not that people don't love or care about you, it's simply that they need space to live their own lives. As we grow older, the need for connection with children, grandchildren, and friends becomes more important than ever. But without understanding how to set appropriate boundaries, we may unintentionally become a source of pressure rather than a source of joy in their lives. There is a common misconception that once we reach old age, we have the right to step into our children's lives whenever we want, ask about everything, and expect to be their top priority. However, modern society operates differently. Everyone has their own busy schedules, responsibilities, and personal space that needs to be respected. Constantly calling, dropping by unannounced, or asking intrusive questions about their relationships, finances, or careers can make them feel overwhelmed. Especially if advice or opinions are given when not asked for, it can create pressure and push people away instead of fostering openness. Many older adults also don't realize that personal boundaries are not just physical, but emotional as well. If we constantly unload our worries, illnesses, or loneliness onto someone, even if they are close family or friends, we may unknowingly place an emotional burden on them that they don't know how to handle. Some will feel guilty for not being able to help more, while others may feel overwhelmed and start avoiding interactions. This doesn't mean we should suppress our emotions or avoid seeking support, but rather that we should be mindful of maintaining balance in our relationships so that others can support us naturally instead of feeling obligated. The key to maintaining strong relationships is not about always being present in someone's life unexpectedly or trying to control every little detail, but about knowing when to step in and when to step back. Respecting personal boundaries means understanding that everyone has their own needs and priorities, and we must give them space to breathe. If you want to maintain a close relationship with someone, show them that you are always available without imposing yourself. Sometimes, a simple text message instead of multiple phone calls can make them feel more comfortable. A gentle offer to help, rather than an unsolicited opinion, can encourage them to be more open. Most importantly, patience and sensitivity in communication will help you maintain meaningful connections without making anyone feel intruded upon. Respecting personal boundaries not only strengthens relationships, but also helps us become someone that children, grandchildren, friends, and neighbors genuinely want to be around. When you understand that love is not about control, but about understanding, you will see that people won't distance themselves from you. In fact, they will appreciate and cherish you even more. If you're still watching this video and find these insights valuable, comment 5 below to let me know you're here, walking this journey with us toward a healthier, more meaningful life. So there you have it. Sometimes, it's the little habits we don't even notice that push us away from the people we love. But here's the good news. It's never too late to change. With just a little more thoughtfulness in how we speak, a little more flexibility in how we think, and a little more patience in how we interact with others, we can maintain meaningful relationships without having to try too hard. We may not stay young forever, but we can always be someone that others want to be around. Take a moment to reflect. Do you complain too much? Do you often give advice that no one asked for? Or do you sometimes impose your way of life on others without realizing it? If so, don't worry. A few small adjustments can make a big difference, and you'll soon notice how positively things start to change. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever recognized any of these habits in yourself? Or do you have a personal story to share? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more valuable insights. There's so much